Welcome to Self-Defense Saturdays. I am Chuck. Today I would like to conclude the series of Self-Defense Saturday. So the main thing is I'm just going to kind of hit back on some things. But before we hit that, the one thing to know is how do you create confirmation of your growth or your progress? Okay. One, let's say, for instance, you're wanting to kick harder. Okay. So if you're kicking to the front, you're kicking to the side, or you're kicking behind, that's one thing. Then if you're trying to knock something over and you couldn't knock it over before, and then pretty soon you could move it. Then pretty soon, it started to crack, or pretty soon it broke. It told you the progress of what's happening. Like with me, sometimes I will videotape myself doing things and then look at it a month later, videotape, and then I get a conclusion from it. I look like a month ago to now. So the stuff, whatever it is that you do, should be self-evident of your progress. That's how you properly judge or chart yourself. Just like if you're weightlifting. If you start out and you start writing everything you do, then you say, okay, I did 3 sets of 5 or whatever it is you do. And then pretty soon you're going way up and you can do a lot more progress. That's because you chart it. It's the same thing. When you are dealing with self-defense, we are dealing with scary business. We want to reduce it down to serious business of knowing I'm in combat, I need to do something. Okay, so just to recap on some stuff. So I'm in an exercise position. As I do, an inward block means I'm coming to the inside, whether my hand is open or closed. An outward block means I go to the outside of my body, whether my hand be opened or closed. An upward block isn't just I go to the upper part of my body. It's I go to the upper part of my body with a slant to absorb more punishment that way, and deflections can happen more often. If you start the same, the leverage is off, and so a lot of times it will still hit you regardless. Okay, so to the upper part of the body. The last one is when you got a stimulus coming in linear and you go to the lower part of the body, whether you're doing fingers open or closed. Now, if the fingers are open, they're subject to sustaining more damage from a kick. Okay, but you can also grab, hook with it. So you're going to be trading damage. All right, so then those are the basic blocks. Now, you run across power strikes. Okay, you got an extended block, You got dual blocking as you do it. You got where one hand is up, one hand is down type of blocking. Okay, you got where you put your leg up and you block, because when something's coming, we are now going into damage control. So when you get into damage control, you know something's coming, but you don't know what it is. And so you're just trying to, in case something happens, so you may end up closing your hand, going like this, waiting for the impact. Okay? A lot of this is, once you start training, then your feelings have got to allow to take over in some areas. So that way you know what you're going to strike. Because sometimes you're one little moment away from being overwhelmed. Okay? Now, it's the same thing with kicking. Because one, it's like all black belts find out, and anybody who gets into a fight after they learn karate, after they learn boxing, after they learn some things, they found out all karate and all that stuff goes right out the door when this is going on. Now, you'll remember certain postures, but a lot of it is you're just doing good to react. Okay, so what you do is you go to your simplest form. So if you think I'm going to kick to the front, a snap kick, whatever it is, then kick to the front. If you're thinking I want to do a side kick, kick to the side. Whether you rotate the hip or not is relative to you want what kind of depth of damage. Okay, so anytime there's something more with power, it usually takes longer to use. So if I fire a side kick or I rotate, it takes longer to finish the side kick with the rotation. Okay, and the same thing, if I'm seeing something coming from behind, I just kick behind me. Now, then of course you got diagonal attacks, okay, because the way it strikes you and what your natural flexibility is. Okay, now, when you go to a rotational kick of any sort, okay, a lot of times if you can actually in your movement prepare the movement, it doesn't require so much of a rotation. If I'm like this and I'm getting ready to throw a right one, okay, then what happens is this foot's got to lift so I can rotate it to move it over, okay? But if I'm here and I pre-move that foot, If I fire a kick, I don't have to rotate so much. So learning those little tricks as you go along. Okay, and this is about self-defense. Now, the progression of the self-defense, even on this, is this. If I'm blocking like this as I'm blocking, later you learn the universal or side blocks. If it's on my left side, usually my left hand is down. If it's on my right side, my right hand is down. But really, what is it? It's a downward block with an inward block. Then you learn scissor, all this sort of stuff. So it becomes a progression. First, you just learn to lift your leg up. Pretty soon you're kicking it as he's kicking. So you start to increase your level of intensity based on your knowledge. Okay, so when you're doing a self-defense idea of against something like it's coming straight at me, as a general rule, get out of its way. Parry it off to the side. Now, if someone is saying something to you, is doing an action, something universal love, whatever it is, if someone's doing something like that and you feel uncomfortable, first thing is you don't got to stay there. You can always go, oh, let's go somewhere else. Okay? That is nothing dishonorable about that. It's called, I don't want any conflict because I'm taking my a woman out tonight and we want to have a good time. So it's when you go to turn and leave and then somebody wishes to impede your progress. Then somebody wishes to do it. Now you're dealing with self-defense because now we're dealing with an unreasonable person. Because a reasonable person will immediately want to back away. So the idea of self-defense, no, it's a lot about understanding what you're defending against. If somebody's on the phone with me, verbal martial arts or learning how to talk carefully or understanding your rights help. So regardless of what the stimulus is, you've got to know your environment, know your role in there, and then can I get out of this? Because if you bail, there is no dishonor in bailing something. If you started it and it went a wrong way, there is no dishonor in bailing. Running, that's another story. So the idea between when you got to get out of something, if it's honest and you're getting out, anybody who wants to attack you, you're now dealing with an unreasonable. And in order for all of this to work, you have to be willing and committed to hurting your opponent just to get them to stop. If you're not, you go into other names like being a victim, a martyr, you froze. Other things happen when you get to there. If you can live with that, then live with that. But if you want to do something and not freeze because when you got overwhelmed, you want to do something, you start off simple, just like with Dustin, when he does his things where he's showing you how to hit, you notice he started off very simple and then slowly progressed it to you. So, just wanted to give you an idea of how to progress yourself and how to draw this to a conclusion. Remember, you combine several together like I do a block, climb up him and strike. I do a block, block. I do an elbow. Oh, fight's over. Okay? Because remember, you have cross elbows, you have back elbows, you have rising, you have downward diagonals. So when you do these elbows, make sure you have a reason. So, alrighty then, that concludes everything for Self-Defense Saturday series. So, have a good one.